Good morning, everyone. I'm Assemblyman Robert Smullen. We're here in Albany today to talk about a deadly serious issue of traffic safety. The Route 7 corridor between Schenectady and Troy needs to be fixed. It is time to go beyond simply studying the corridor. It's time to take action. The lack of traffic safety and traffic calming measures that have led to multiple deaths on this tragic road must begin immediately. We have delivered a petition to the governor, provided information to the Department of Transportation, and provided ideas to law enforcement agencies, all to no avail. Today we demand action. We ask our fellow citizens to join us. We ask the towns, the counties, and the state to meet in public to develop a plan that can be implemented in phases to prevent any more of the senseless tragedies along this outdated and unsafe roadway. It is no longer acceptable to point a finger in another direction, towards another agency or level of government, and hope the issue will go away. The issue will not go away. Today you'll hear from elected state officials, concerned citizens, from grieving family members like ourselves, elected town and county officials, and maybe even from local law enforcement. But what we need to hear is that the state, who actually owns the road, will take action. That the state, who cannot be sued by the people to force action, will put their efforts into high gear and coordinate a pressing public safety concern. So here to tell you about that is Joe Yakel. He lives right there. He knows the facts, and he's the one who spearheaded a petition of our citizens with over 1,000 signatures that was sent to the state. Please listen to what Joe has to say.
Good morning, and thank you, Assemblyman Smullen, for asking me to be here today. I'm Joseph Yakel. I'm a Niskayuna resident, and I've lived in the town for over 20 years. And my question is, when is enough going to be enough? And the question isn't just for you that are listening to me right now. I'm asking the direct question to Governor Kathy Hochul and the DOT Commissioner Dominguez. Back in April, I sent, hand-delivered, a petition with 1,300 signatures on it from concerned citizens, not just Niskayuna residents, but a lot of people that travel back and forth on Route 7 through Niskayuna on a daily basis. That was 1,300 people that said it's too much already. But I don't think that 1,300 signatures has been enough for the governor and the DOT commissioner, because what I received in response to that petition was a letter saying that DOT was going to study the issue again. And that's unacceptable, because when I spoke to the governor's aide, I made it very clear that if you don't take action on this issue now, there are going to be more accidents and more injuries and more fatalities on this road. It's inevitable. It's inevitable because there's a 1.5 mile stretch of Route 7 that has no public safety features on it that are going to slow down or stop traffic so that pedestrians, people on bicycles, moms and dads that are pushing their children in baby carriages, workers that are trying to leave Bellevue Hospital to cross the street to get onto the CDTA bus, or people that are turning on or off of Route 7 to these side streets, there's no way for them to safely do that. There are no traffic lights on Route 7 in that stretch. There are no high visibility crosswalks. There's over 20,000 cars a day that are traveling on Route 7 in that area. If you don't do something to slow down the traffic and give people a safe chance to cross the road or traverse it, the accidents they're going to happen. Now in August, I received a follow-up letter from DOT that I want to share with you. There's a couple of things that were in that DOT letter that are really important. The first one is that part of the study that DOT has completed indicated that we just don't have enough accidents at one of our intersections to warrant a traffic light. I want that to sink in with everybody that's listening to me. We don't have enough accidents according to their little chart to warrant putting in safety features that are going to prevent further accidents. The other thing that was in that letter was a DOT survey from 2023 that indicated that more than 90% of the cars traveling on Route 7 are speeding. So again, I want you to let that sink in. You've got more than 20,000 cars a day traveling on that section of Route 7, and more than 90% of them, according to DOT, are speeding every single day. And apparently that 90% number still isn't enough for the governor and the DOT commissioner. I'm not really sure what number is going to be enough. What I will tell you is that the people in Niskayuna, myself as a resident who has to hear these crashes and see the police chief and our fire department come out to try and save people or clean up after these accidents occur, it's far too much for all of them. It's too much for us. The last time I was here, I asked you, Governor Hochul, to do something, and I'm not asking you now. I'm telling you, I'm demanding that you do something here. Because if you don't do something, the status quo is going to continue on Route 7. It's a chronic problem. It's been going on for years. It's a state-operated and run road. Pick up the phone, get the DOT commissioner on the line, and you tell her, put boots on the ground, apply the resources, and fix Route 7 once and for all. If you don't do that, we're going to have more accidents, and that's unacceptable. Every mom, every dad, every sister, every brother, every son and every daughter that's had somebody injured or killed on this road has a heartbreak that will never end. It's there forever. And every day that you don't act by putting in public safety features on Route 7 is one more opportunity for another family to go through that heartbreak, and it's shameful, it's unacceptable, it's unnecessary. You know what to do the right thing, commit the New York State resources, and fix the problem, and do it now. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Senator Pat Fahey, and I am the Senate sponsor of the bill that Assemblymember Smullen carries with regard to signage where a fatal traffic accident has occurred, a pedestrian traffic accident. And when he reached out, when he introduced that bill, not long after the tragedy of losing their son, I reached out to him to say, how can I help? And I'd be honored to sponsor the bill. One, because we are in this same horrible club of having lost our only sons. But two, I've been a longtime advocate of trying to call out traffic accidents, particularly with regard to pedestrians and cyclists. And we know that since COVID, we have very much gone in the wrong direction, not just in this state, but across the country. And we are again having record high traffic fatalities, as well as, and about 1/4 of those include pedestrians. And as you just heard so well by Assemblymember Smullen as well as Mr. Yeagle, so much of these are just senseless and preventable. And I need to commend the Smullen family for taking their horrific tragedy in losing their only son and trying to prevent others from going through this horrific tragedy. So I'm happy to stand with him as well. We know that there are so many effective ways of calming traffic, slowing traffic. I have commended the governor for signing legislation, other legislation that I have sponsored to bring traffic down to 20 miles an hour in front of our schools. I've also sponsored the speed cameras, the school speed cameras that we know is saving lives. They've become more and more popular, started in New York City and have been replicated to many cities. I think just this year, Syracuse started it. My bill passed last year. It is making a difference. Route 7, 1.5 miles of uninterrupted speed just encourages problems. I've advocated the same on Route 156 in front of the Indian Ladder Farms, where the speed is, I think, 50 or 55 miles an hour, and it's uninterrupted in front of one of our most busy, popular tourist areas in the region. So there are ways to calm traffic, and we know when you calm traffic, when you slow traffic, it saves lives. Just walking over here, just a few moments ago, met somebody who said one of their neighbors was hit by a car Saturday night here in Albany on Sprague Street. That neighbor lived. And without knowing many of the details, we know he lived, and we know it's probably because Albany has the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit throughout the city. So I don't know, again, I don't know the details, but what the studies and the statistics show, the slower a car is moving, the more likelihood a pedestrian or a cyclist or even somebody in another car will live. I'm not saying Route 7 will work at 25 miles an hour because you would get too many people abusing and breaking the law, but certainly we can do better with the natural traffic calming. That's narrowing lanes, that's curb cuts, that's lights with pedestrian crossings, and lowering the speed. So there's many ways to do this. Again, and I also hope the governor will sign our bill to mark these areas where we have seen these horrific traffic pedestrian fatalities. We just have too many. And just as you see what are called ghost bikes, the white bikes, in front of where a cyclist has been killed, we would like to see the same in front of where we have seen these horrific accidents. I think it's a bill, it is pending, and we also urge the governor to sign that, to work with us and do all we can to prevent these more traffic violence, as it's called, but really to prevent others' families from having to live this horrific tragedy. And again, I want to commend the entire Smullen family for taking their tragedy and putting it into action. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Fahey. I want to just be clear. I'm very pleased that the town of Niskayuna, the supervisor, Aaron Cassidy Dorian, and the chief of police, Jordan Cochan, are here today. It's time to take action. There are so many issues associated with this that let's go ahead and we'll start to take your questions now about this issue. And just please, if you'd like myself, Senator Fahey, or Mr. Yackel to answer the question, just please indicate so. So let's go ahead and take some questions.
So, Mr. Smullen, can you just talk on the DOT statement that they put out today? And I know they talk about some traffic calming measures, including rates median and similar things. Just anything you can comment on based on there.
Yes, thank you very much. The Department of Transportation put out a statement saying that they were going to take action. So let's go ahead and let's take action. But it's a very limited of what they've offered at this point. I think it's just the beginning, maybe the first phase of 4 or 5 phases of a overarching process that the state should actually convene meetings, planning sessions, public comment to make sure that of the 3 counties, the various towns that are there, that it's all coordinated with the state police. This is a state highway. It runs right through our community from Schenectady to Troy, and it's got to be done right. It's got to be fixed right. And I think that I welcome the Department of Transportation's efforts as a first step in the right direction.
And then just to add on to that, when it comes to conversations with the DOT, if you would like to respond, has those conversations, have they been cordial with being able to talk to everybody? Have they been invited to press conferences or have shown an interest in wanting to be a part of that to talk about their phases or anything like that? Just events like these? How has that been?
The Department of Transportation is welcome to come to any of these events. What we want to do is make sure that when the public comment period is, that it's widely known and it can be shared, and it's done in towns such as Niskayuna where the people are right there. So we have a fair opportunity to make sure that people like Joe Yekel, 1,000+ signatures on the petition, that the people can participate. And the same thing holds true in Latham or Troy or wherever, is that this process needs to be very comprehensive. And like I said, I think their initiative and the letters that they've written are simply a first step in a much larger process to fix an outdated highway.
And when it comes to these conversations, are there any of them that are set to go for dates or anything coming up yet, or is you trying to set these up?
No, there's nothing that's been set up at this point, sort of thing. All that I have is one letter from August 9th that Mr. Yekel referred to. Kate.
I'm just curious about the bill that you guys didn't pass at the end of session there. What do you think the chances are the governor will sign it?
Well, I'm very hopeful because it's just a way for people to memorialize their grief. It happens all over New York State. You see the little roadside shrines of people that they set up for someone who was hit by a car, who was hit on a motorcycle. I just talked to the family over the weekend. I communicated with them of the motorcyclist that was killed in the exact same spot where my son was hit. And it's part of the grieving process that people should be able to memorialize their loved ones. They're going to do it anyway. You see them all around. So I absolutely encourage the governor to sign the bill. It passed unanimously in the Assembly, unanimously in the Senate, thanks to my colleague, Senator Fahey. And I think it represents the will of the people on this issue to have a constant reminder that you need to slow down. You need to not speed. You don't need to text and drive. You don't need to drink and drive. You don't need to drive distractedly because lives are at stake. And I think it's really the right thing to do.
Have you talked to the governor's office yet? Have they engaged on, I'm guessing it'll be closer to the end of the year when she makes a decision.
Yeah, so I haven't specifically engaged with the governor's office on this bill since session ended, but I intend to do so.
And can you describe, or either one of you actually, just why this will also aid in the safety concerns, those kinds of signs?
I didn't talk to the governor's office, but certainly we talked to DOT a number of times when we were trying to move the bill because they did have a number of concerns, and this legislation is rather unprecedented. Even the ghost bikes, which are very familiar to most of us and I think are brilliant reminders of where there is a dangerous intersection or a dangerous road, those are technically not legal, but I think there's been, as far as I know, there's just been a recognition of leaving them. Most other memorials where you have seen sometimes a murder or other fatalities, those are removed rather quickly. What we are looking for is, in my view, a very similar type permanent fixture that would remind people that this, I think it would help to slow down the traffic. DOT is worried that, with extra signage that's highly regulated, often at the federal level, in terms of distraction. I think that these can be done in a way that they're not distracting. They are reminders that tragedy, preventable, senseless tragedy has happened here. Let's slow down. So we have both indicated we are willing to be flexible and work with DOT on this legislation. There is some federal regs that may impede this. Assemblymember Smullen has said he is happy he's worked with, I think, the U.S. DOT and can work through this. So we really want to see this bill move this year. I think I was out biking this weekend, and just seeing a ghost bike reminded me to be really mindful of where I was crossing, and just it's like a triple check. So I think that, and if that sign would prevent one more tragedy, it's worth all of these efforts.
Yeah. And just to remind, this program is actually modeled after a program in Texas, where it's been very successful, and there's been zero federal pushback on the Texas law. And I've communicated with the U.S. Department of Transportation on this issue, and I don't have any concerns in that regard.
Did the Department of Transportation, the State Department of Transportation statement this morning, Was that a surprise to you that they say they're working on to enhance the safety, to take this for them to give that kind of a response?
No, so we've had a dialogue with them that's been ongoing, and it has to do with what to do. And I think there are immediate traffic safety measures that can be implemented. Speed limits are one, signage is another, a permanent, this is how fast you're going sign is another. There are traffic calming measures, re-engineering roads to bring them up to 21st century standards. This road is 75 years old. It's a good road, but it needs to be brought up to date with the fact that modern cars drive much faster. And they have different safety features that people think that they can drive them much faster. And in this case, as Joe Yakel said, 90% of the cars on this road are going faster than the posted speed limit. So that needs to be brought down immediately. And one way that can be done that's been very effective in many municipalities is speed cameras. A lot of people don't like them, but the fact that there's a penalty associated with exceeding the speed limit in the area is extremely effective, and it's been proven so right here in the Capital District with school zone speed cameras. It immediately brings the speed limit down. And I think that there are perhaps key areas around New York State where speed cameras would be very effective. And I'm willing to support legislation in the Assembly that would do so for this Route 7 corridor. And I think that along with things like the stop arm cameras on school buses are good ways to be able to reduce the potential for fatalities, because it's going to reduce the speed. And there are other measures as well. They did reject a stoplight there. But what about a roundabout? What about some speed bumps? What about the things that we all know are able to slow people down? Their press release this morning is just the first step, perhaps the phase 1 of 4 or 5 phases to fix this road for the 21st century. So in that area there, the current speed limit is 40 miles per hour. The person that hit my son was traveling well in excess of 40 miles per hour. Just this past week, that person was finally pled guilty to speeding. It took 1.5 years to adjudicate a very simple speeding ticket, to acknowledge that speed was a factor in my son's death. It shouldn't be that hard. It should not be that hard. So yes, we need to look to reduce the speed limit there. Am I a traffic engineer? No, I'm not. But is less than 40 on a downhill stretch where 90% of the people are speeding, where there have been 3 fatalities in 18 months? That doesn't seem unreasonable to me.
Can I just add that the Assemblymember Smullen also mentioned the school speed zone cameras. For those of you that may remember this, it was less than 10 years ago when they were first adopted in New York City, and they were adopted or initially proposed after a family of 4 was hit and killed in front of a school in, I think all were killed in front of a school in New York City. So we started in New York City because they have been so successful in reducing pedestrian fatalities, let alone pedestrian crashes. They have now been replicated, and we get complaints about it, but it does change behavior, and that's what we're talking about here, is changing behavior to get people to slow down. So it's not enough just to reduce the speed limit. It does include the narrowing of lanes, curb cutouts, signage where a pedestrian crossing is, with the lights, even when a pedestrian is there, that detects a pedestrian. There is so much that can be done that can actually save lives, even though the bottom line is we need to see people go slower. The stop arm cameras on school buses, that's a $250 fine. That was implemented because last year there were, or the year before, 50,000 violations, ignoring the stop arm. So now there's a camera on it with $250 tickets, and it's working. It's working in a massive way, and again, saving lives.
Thanks. I just wanted to add one other thought with the question related to, DOT's response. I haven't read that, but as Assemblyman Smullen said, it's going to take some coordination and a coordinated effort, and we all know that putting in infrastructure takes some amount of time. And one of the things that I asked for when I submitted this petition to the governor's office is that a multi-jurisdictional task force be put together involving the state police and the county sheriff's department and the town of Niskayuna police. And that's an immediate action that could be taken to slow down traffic that's going on this road. We're in the county of Schenectady. Our local police department is doing what it can do, but we're a small police department in Niskayuna, and the volume of traffic that's on that road is too much for a town police department to manage on its own, especially on a state road. But certainly the county could put resources towards this effort, and most definitely the state can. That petition that I submitted to the governor went to the DOT commissioner, but it also went to the New York State Police Superintendent, and that was for a reason. It's a state road. We need state assets on it immediately, and those assets can be working in coordination with DOT so that they're slowing down traffic and they're calming traffic and keeping drivers and pedestrians and bicyclists safe while the necessary infrastructure upgrades are made on that road. It's not going to be one thing that fixes the problem on Route 7, and it's going to take some time, but the immediate answer here is to also get additional law enforcement on that road every single day of the week, because that traffic keeps coming and coming and coming, and it's got to be slowed down. Thank you.
Sorry about the numbers you said. Was it state numbers or federal or
DOT follows a guideline. It's the acronym is the MUTCD. It's the Manual for Uniform Traffic Control Devices. New York State also has a supplement to that manual, and it gets very detailed when you start looking at what's contained in that manual. But they have numbers based on number of lanes on a road, the number of traffic volume that's passing over a road over a given period of time, directional traffic, things like that. And from that, they build out graphs and charts that come up with numerical values. And the feedback that I received on the one intersection that they've completed a study on was that the numbers of accidents happening at that intersection don't rise to the level of making it onto the chart to a point where DOT believes that a traffic light would be warranted there. However, the New York State supplement allows for deviations to the federal regulation, and this is something that I spoke to the DOT about not too long ago. Within the past week, I spoke to them on the phone about this particular issue, that for good cause, New York State DOT could go through the SAPA process, and they could institute guidelines that were more stringent than what happens to be in the federal manual. There's always a way for the state to address a problem that may not be laid out exactly relative to the real life situation that's happening on a roadway. And so this is a bit of creativity that's right there in the regulation for DOT to look into. And they could have done this years ago. My frustration as a resident and a member of the community is that I've watched this happen year after year, and year after year we've had studies and we've had talk about what's going to happen here, but there really hasn't been any real hard, tangible, concrete public safety measures put in place on the road. We can't just have a temporary boost in law enforcement on that road and then think the problem is going to resolve. It's not going to. But we do need law enforcement from state, county, and our local town on the job and hitting this issue hard every day until those infrastructure changes are made. That's really the only solution here. It's common sense. If you don't put the safety features in place, there's no reason for the cars to slow down. And I'll just leave you with this irony. I parked over on Madison Ave this morning to come over here to this press release. I crossed a road right in front of the Capitol that's a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, and I crossed at a traffic light with a high visibility crosswalk at 25 miles per hour. If I want to visit my neighbor and my friend across Route 7 on the opposite side of the street from me, I literally take my life in my hands trying to run across that road with 5 lanes of traffic that have no reason to stop for me. That's the irony, and that's exactly what DOT and the governor need to be thinking about when somebody like me or Assemblyman Smullen comes to them and says, we've got a problem here and you need to fix it. You can't just look at a manual and think that that's the answer and that's the only answer, and you can't do it alone. It's a coordinated effort. It's going to take the police force. It's going to take DOT. It's going to take county and local efforts here, and my effort as well. And I'm going to keep on pushing this issue until we get it fixed.